Welcome to my channel, The Human Frontier. The first time Queen Alindra saw the scar, the entire royal court fell silent. Not because scars were unusual. Every soldier in the galaxy carried a few. War left its marks on flesh as surely as it did on planets. But this scar was different. And according to the Queen of the Aurelian Empire, it should not exist. My name is Captain Adrian Cole of the United Earth Defense Fleet. At the time, I was serving as a military liaison on the capital world of Aurelian Prime. Humans had only recently entered into diplomatic contact with the Aurelian Empire, a civilization thousands of years older than ours. They were elegant, powerful, and terrifyingly intelligent. And their queen had a reputation for noticing things no one else could. That reputation became very real the day she noticed the mark on my chest. The Aurelian royal palace was enormous. Its towers pierced the clouds, made from pale crystal that shimmered with faint golden light. Bridges of floating stone connected massive spires, and inside the palace every hallway felt more like a cathedral than a corridor. Even the guards looked intimidating. Aurelians were tall, easily 7 feet, with luminous skin that faintly glowed beneath the surface like distant starlight. Their armor was smooth and flowing, almost organic, with energy fields humming quietly around them. Humans looked small by comparison. And I looked particularly unimpressive standing at the center of the throne chamber. I had been summoned for a routine military report. At least, that's what I thought. The throne chamber itself was breathtaking. A circular hall large enough to hold an entire starship crew, with a massive dome overhead displaying a living map of the galaxy. At the center sat Queen Alindra. She was taller than the other Aurelians, her presence commanding even without the elaborate crown floating above her silver hair. Her eyes were a deep violet, sharp and calculating. Beside her stood nobles, advisors, and military commanders, all watching me. Captain Adrian Cole, the Queen said calmly. Yes, Your Majesty. You were present during the Battle of Carthos Station 2 months ago. Yes. That battle destroyed an entire pirate armada. Yes, Your Majesty. And yet your medical records show you suffered significant injuries. I nodded. Nothing serious. That was a lie. The truth was that Carthos Station had nearly killed me. The battle had been chaos. Pirates had ambushed a civilian convoy near the station, using heavy plasma weapons to disable transports before boarding them. By the time our fleet arrived, half the station was already burning. My unit had been deployed to the central docking ring. Close quarters fighting. Zero gravity. Explosions everywhere. At one point a plasma grenade detonated just meters away from me. I remembered the heat. The pressure. Then the darkness. When I woke up later in the medical bay, the doctors said I had been incredibly lucky. Apparently. But the Queen wasn't asking about luck. Her eyes were fixed on my chest. Remove your uniform jacket, she said. I blinked. I'm sorry. Your jacket, Captain. The request echoed across the silent chamber. I hesitated only a moment before unfastening the jacket and setting it aside. The scar was visible immediately. It stretched diagonally across my chest, starting near my collarbone and running down past my ribs. A jagged, pale line against my skin. It looked like something had tried to tear me open. Queen Alindra rose from her throne. She walked down the steps slowly until she stood directly in front of me. Up close, the faint glow beneath her skin was more visible, like veins of light flowing through her body. She studied the scar carefully. Then she did something unexpected. She reached out and touched it. Her fingers hovered just above the skin, not quite making contact. The glow beneath her fingertips intensified slightly. The court watched silently. After several seconds, the Queen frowned. This wound, she said quietly. Yes. It shouldn't exist. A murmur rippled through the chamber. I frowned slightly. With respect, Your Majesty, it definitely exists. She ignored the comment. Captain Cole, do you know what caused this injury? Plasma grenade. No. Her answer was immediate. Your Majesty, a plasma grenade would have vaporized tissue in this area, she said calmly. Your rib cage should have been shattered. Your heart exposed. I felt a chill run through my spine. Well, I guess the medics were really good. She looked directly into my eyes. No. The room grew even quieter. Queen Alindra stepped back slightly, studying me like a puzzle. This scar is not the result of plasma damage. Then what is it? She turned to her advisors. Bring the records. Within seconds, a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. Ancient diagrams filled the air, alien symbols, anatomical structures, and glowing energy patterns. The Queen pointed at one of them. 3,000 years ago, she said, my people fought a war against an unknown species we called the Void Hunters. The name alone sounded unpleasant. They possessed weapons capable of bending space itself, she continued. Their attacks left wounds unlike anything else in the galaxy. She gestured toward the hologram. These wounds produced scars exactly like this one. I stared at the projection, then back at my chest. You're saying I was attacked by an ancient alien weapon? Yes. That seems unlikely. The Queen tilted her head slightly. Then explain how a human survived an injury that once killed entire armies. I opened my mouth, then closed it again. Because honestly, I had no idea. The court spent the next hour examining medical scans from the battle. Every report confirmed the same thing. My wound didn't match the damage pattern from the explosion. Something else had happened. Finally, the Queen dismissed the court. Everyone left except for the two of us. She sat back down on the throne and regarded me carefully. Captain Cole, tell me exactly what you remember before the explosion. I thought back. There was fighting everywhere. Pirates boarding the station. My squad was trying to reach the control hub. And then, I saw one of the pirates throw the grenade. Yes. I tried to push a civilian behind cover. And the grenade exploded. Yes. The Queen leaned forward slightly. What happened next? I blacked out. She was quiet for several seconds. Then she said something strange. No. You didn't. I frowned. What do you mean? Her violet eyes glowed faintly. You didn't black out, Captain. Then what happened? She looked at the hologram again. Then back at my scar. You were protected. The words hung in the air. Protected. By what? She stood slowly. That is the question. 3 days later, the answer arrived. A small alien device was discovered in the wreckage of Carthos Station. It had been buried in the metal debris of the docking ring. And when the scientists activated it, it displayed a recording. The image flickered to life in the royal chamber. I watched silently. The recording showed the moment of the explosion. The grenade detonated. Flames and energy surged outward. But just before the blast reached me, something appeared. A faint sphere of light surrounding my body. A protective field. It lasted less than a second. Then it vanished. The explosion continued normally. The Queen stared at the recording. Then she looked at me. Captain Adrian Cole, she said quietly. Yes. You were saved by a relic from the war against the Void Hunters. My mind struggled to process that. But why me? She smiled faintly. Because ancient technology rarely chooses randomly. I looked down at the scar on my chest. So, this thing saved my life. Yes. And left a scar that shouldn't exist. Exactly. I exhaled slowly. That's a lot to think about. The Queen nodded. Yes. She turned back toward the hologram, watching the moment of the glowing shield again. 3,000 years ago, my people believed the Void Hunters were gone forever. She glanced back at me. But their technology is still appearing. Which means... Her voice grew quiet. It means history may not be finished with them. I looked again at the strange scar across my chest. A mark that shouldn't exist. A wound from a forgotten war. And apparently, a warning. The Queen studied it once more before speaking. Captain Cole, she said softly. Yes, Your Majesty. You may be the first human ever touched by the legacy of the Void Hunters. I swallowed. That doesn't sound good. Her faint smile returned. No. She looked out toward the stars beyond the palace windows. But it may be very important. And somehow, I had the feeling my strange scar was only the beginning of a much bigger story. Thank you for listening. Subscribe for more cinematic science fiction stories.